as I thought about this segment that we've been doing, just getting some understandings as to why we are doing this new ministry of health, my mind goes to the purpose of this moment. The woman you see sitting next to me, when I first met her, Jaime Levasseur, was very unassuming, and I had no idea, and we were all just being brought together because of some of the things that we had experienced. And the new ministry of health is a moment and a space and time where God is truth, and we share our experience because we've gotten tired. And if I was supposed to do some real professional introduction or nothing like that, or something like that, I just said, we're about to flow. And so, Jaime, I'm so glad to be here with you.
I'm honored.
And I'm honored, and because I never got to meet, I get to see you on TV, your story, meaning people who have gone through, but I didn't get to meet someone who was as experienced and who had to actually take some stands, as we'll talk. And so we're all together working in this new ministry of health. And your credentials, can you give well, first of all, I'm just gonna say this, guys, and I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but you're a nurse, but how did you become a nurse?
Well, originally I was an accountant out of high school and college, and then I left to have my children. I stayed home with my children, and when my kids were little, it's a weird story, but we were sitting on the floor during and watching all of the footage of Katrina, Hurricane Katrina. And I just had this overcoming feeling of wanting to go get in my car and go down and help all of those people. But I had 2 little children. I couldn't do that. So that's when I decided to go to nursing school. And that's where the journey began.
What do you mean? That was just so haphazardly. That's when I decided to go to nursing. You say you're watching Katrina.
Yes.
And do you just decide, or you just say, hey?
No, it was the feeling that came over me of wanting to help people. And that's when I really started searching inside of my own self. How can I help people?
Right. Okay. Well, once you make that decision, and once again, we're talking about just how we have all been brought together into this mission, the new ministry of health. When I met you, you shared with me something, and what I'd like to talk about, we can begin. We'll deal with caregiving.
Okay.
But one of the things that this was so enlightening to me, and I didn't get it. And that's, I don't know if you remember, I said, you're a tiger mom because of and we'll talk about it. But the question I want to understand from you is that what pushed you to finally take a stand? What happened?
I believe I just had a feeling that I needed to protect my child. So she was ill, and we went to numerous doctors, and nobody could figure out what it was. It was just this nagging, constant, I have a stomach ache, Mom, you know. And to make a long story short, after years, talking years of doctor after doctor after doctor with no explanation of what was going on with her, And during that time, I was doing my own, kind of research and trying to figure out what was going on, because I just wasn't getting the answers. And I was getting vague answers. Well, she has IBS. What's causing it? Why is this perfectly healthy child having all of these stomach issues? She eats a healthy diet. What is going on? What are we not figuring out?
Right.
And that was frustrating for me, because I had a child that was in a lot of pain.
Right.
To the point that everyday life was hard for her. She was losing friends. She wasn't going, she wasn't doing normal things that children do.
Right.
So her quality of life was going down, and yet I wasn't getting any answers. And really what started happening, and what made me change the way I started to treat her, was we were given medications to help with the symptoms, but no answers to where the symptoms were coming from.
Right.
And those medications had side effects. So one medication was to slow her intestines. One was for pain. One was to actually speed up the intestines. It was just this circle of one medication after another.
Are you, at this point, are you a nurse?
No.
Okay.
I'm just a mom with no medical backgrounds.
And when you say I'm just a mom, let's just make sure you all understand. And I'm so glad you're very transparent. It took me to meet you to really understand that women are the gatekeepers of the home.
Yeah.
They're the doctors in the house. They are the ones who look after all the care. It happened with me, with my situation, with my wife, and I'm hearing with you that you had to become a gatekeeper. So you wasn't just a mom. And I know you're not saying that, but it seems like something was activated inside of you.
Yes, because I felt like I had to be my daughter's advocate.
Okay.
I had to be her voice when she couldn't voice what she was feeling. But I could feel her pain as her mother.
Right.
And like I would say to people, I was on the bathroom floor with her 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, falling asleep. She was in so much pain. And really the turning point for us was going to the emergency room. And I know we've been talking about the emergency room. And the doctor did some tests, duplicate tests that had already been done, and found that she was constipated. I know she's constipated.
Right.
It basically said to us, me and my husband, the pain is in her head. She needs to see a psychiatrist. And he then proceeded to tell me, as the mother, that I needed to stop encouraging her pain. I needed to force her to go to school.
No. I know you're telling me the truth, but I still want to ask you again. They're saying that she's physically constipated.
Right.
And they're saying, but this is in her head. It's psychosomatic.
Right.
And you just need her just to push past the pain and go to school.
Yes. But I knew it was much more than just constipation. I mean, this pain had been going on for years.
Okay.
And the only solution that I was given was pain medications and different bowel regimens.
Right.
And I did, along those ways, try different diets. Again, I was doing my own research as mom in the background, like how else can I help her?
Did anybody ever talk to you about nutrition?
No, and that's an interesting point. That's a very interesting point.
No.
Yes.
She's constipated. No one has said, what is her diet and what is she doing? And wow. And go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, maybe vaguely,
but
I just said, she eats healthy. We eat whatever. It wasn't until I brought her to a naturopath that the naturopath actually sat me down and said, okay, what does she have for breakfast every day?
Right.
What does she have for a snack? Bring me through her entire day. What is she eating? What's her home life like?
Okay.
Dad in the picture? Does she have siblings? Is there animals in the house? I mean, this woman took a full picture of what was going on.
Okay.
And she also wanted to know what medication she was on.
Right.
She wanted to know every aspect.
Right. And that helped you to be able to then say, all right, I know what direction for us to begin to go in. And so
she gave us hope.
She gave you hope.
She was the one person after years that actually gave us hope. They gave us an outline of a plan of this is what we're going to do to help this child. And she looked at Julia and she said, Julie, you're not crazy. You know, you are in pain. And we believe you. And I think that's important as parents to know that our children need to know that we believe them.
Right. And this is all going to, I'm so glad you went there because if I recall, you said there was a moment that you were in the car and you said something to her. And I want you all to hear this because this touched my heart, but tell them.
So it was that same day at the emergency room. That's really the pivotal moment in our lives was that day when the doctor told us that it was in her head, and that she needed a psychiatrist. And I said to him, I made an appointment with a naturopath. And he said, cancel it, they're a bunch of quacks. So he did a couple of things there. You know, he basically told my daughter that she was crazy and that she was lying to get out of school. And he was also telling my husband to not trust what I was doing. So he was undermining me as the mother, as the caretaker. So we walked out of there. Everyone was exhausted mentally and physically. And Julia was crying and she said, see, nobody believes me. Nobody thinks that I'm telling the truth, that I'm in pain. And I turned around and looked at her in the back seat and I told her, I said, Julia, I'm your mother and I will always believe you. I believe you now and I will always believe you and we will figure this out.
Okay. And when you said you will figure it out, did you figure something out?
We did. Like I said, then we went to the naturopath. We had some, she hates when I talk about it, but a stool test done. So some, unconventional testing, because she had the blood tests and all of these other tests done a gazillion times, and they were all showing negative. So that's why the doctors weren't believing that she was in pain. So we did the simple stool test, and it gave the doctor a lot of answers, the naturopath doctor, a lot of answers about what was going on inside her. And she said, Julia, this is the proof. Here's your diagnosis, and this is the proof that you haven't been lying, that you are in pain.
And what was her reaction with that?
She cried. She cried.
Really?
Yeah.
They told me I ended up with 2 huge bags of medication. And they kept telling me and my wife that it was psychosomatic. And it was so frustrating to say, I'm doing everything I can to describe this. And now they're telling me it's in my head, or they're only spending a couple of minutes with me and just doing this and making it happen. And so when you found the solution, if you don't mind, can you tell me what did you end up doing? Because you're talking about food. What did you do? Right.
So she, even to this day, right now, she is on a dairy-free and gluten-free and sugar-free diet.
Okay.
They're all known inflammatory foods. They cause inflammatory in anybody, but somebody with an already compromised intestinal system, it causes even more havoc.
Tell me why you're making inflammatory important. It seems like you put emphasis on that.
Yeah, because the root of the cause of most of her problems was inflammation.
Okay.
That's what was causing the problem, the pain, and all of the bowel problems, which stemmed from, after finally figuring everything out, was chronic antibiotic use as a young child.
Wow.
She was on rounds and rounds of antibiotics for eczema.
So you're saying, how long had she been on antibiotics?
On and off for several years. So what happened was we moved into a new home when she was about 1.5 years old, and she had beautiful skin, no problems ever, not a blemish. We moved into the house, and all of a sudden, head to toe, she was covered in what they called eczema or contact dermatitis. It was, and again, no answers. We don't know what's causing it. But I knew it had to be something in the house because that's the only thing that changed in her environment. I was giving creams to put on her.
Right.
I was, and again, more medications. So she was on antibiotics and steroids.
Wow.
For a couple of years until I figured out it was the rug.
Wait a minute. Okay, go back. You said she was on it and you figured, did you say rug? R-U-G.
Yeah. We had a Berber rug put into the living room. So the rest of the house was hardwood floors, and we put a Berber carpet because we figured this is where she's going to play and it would be easier on her little knees and everything. And it wasn't until we put a second Berber carpet a couple of years later into a bonus room that we did, and she had a flare up, and I said, oh my goodness, that's what it must be. It's got to be the rug. So I called the company that manufactured the rug, and I had them send me the material data safety sheet, which I only knew was legal. I needed it legally because I worked for a chemical company when I was an accountant.
Okay.
So I knew that it was the law. They didn't want to give it to me. So I had to tell them the law. They faxed it over to me, and on there, it told the installers to wear rubber gloves while installing the carpet because of the chemicals that it is bathed in. And now I had this child crawling around on it. So that's really what started the whole thing.
It's hard to process this, and I don't care how many times I would hear this, and if you would tell this, that you're saying that when you purchase the rug, they tell the people who install a rug, wear gloves because we don't want you to be harmed with the chemicals that are in the rug.
Yes. And I thought I was doing a good thing because it was one of those, I saw the advertisement where you could pour a glass of red wine on it and it didn't stain it. So I said, well, perfect, I have children, that's what I need.
Right.
Well, those chemicals to keep it from staining is what was causing all of her problems, all of those years. And so through those years, again, I went through the cycle of medications, creams, and I was ridiculed by some doctors because I was always asking why. What's causing this? Help me find out what the root cause is. Because the answer is not giving her a pharmaceutical that she's going to be on for the rest of her life, or telling me that it's stress that's causing it.
Right.
Or putting a cream on that is black boxed, which we've discussed, which means that they're not sure.
No, I'm not. I don't know. I heard that again today. Explain black box.
So black box is.
And in black box, just go ahead. Explain.
It's something that the government does on information that would cause cancer. So this medication that I was supposed to smother all over my daughter had what they called a black box, meaning the government is saying you can use it. However, we're giving you the warning that it can cause cancer.
So let me ask you a question, and I'm so glad. So are you saying, like, I just saw a report on a blood pressure losartan, and they said that it had a cancer-causing ingredient. Is that the black box?
It could be, yes. So they're basically saying we're not saying that it won't cause cancer. It can cause cancer, and you're taking this or using this medication at your own risk. Because now we're disclosing to you that it can cause cancer.
How would you know that a medication has been black boxed?
You have to research it yourself. Because the dermatologist that prescribed it to me to put on this small child didn't tell me that. They said, try this. I went home, I Googled it, read all the information, saw that it was black boxed, went back in 2 weeks. The nurse said to me, "How is she doing?" I said, "She's the same, but I didn't use the cream."
Right.
And she says, "Why not?" And I said, "Well, because it's black boxed, and I wanted to talk about the risks of that with the doctor before I started using it on my daughter."
Right.
That nurse said to me, "Well, no wonder why she's not getting better."
I could have told you she was going to say something like that. I was in the hospital, and I asked the guy something about the doctor, the surgeon, in terms of, well, can I eat this certain food because I heard that turmeric will do whatever. He says, well, if you want to die, go ahead. I said, are you serious? And so what you're telling me, and when she did that, what did that do for you? What does that do for a mother?
Well, it makes you like helpless.
Okay.
Because you're there at the doctor's office looking for solutions to help your child.
Right.
And now I felt ridiculed, and really all I was trying to do was, again, be her advocate.
Right.
And protect her from something that may harm her.
Right.
And I wasn't doing anything out of the normal except asking, what's causing this? See, so many times patients go into the office and they just want that magic pill or magic cream that make everything go away.
Right.
But really what we need to be asking as patients or caregivers is, what's the root cause? What's causing these problems, and how do we fix that?
Right, right. And I think if you because I know her story and the things that you've shared, when you dealt with inflammation, you found the oil.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
And what did the oil do for her?
So,
and for those who don't know, we're talking about Agora.
What was happening with Julia was we had a strict diet with her. It was helping. Supplements, there were certain digestive enzymes and probiotics and all these other types of natural supplements that we were using, turmeric. But the inflammation was still there. And I know that because of how often she would use the bathroom. So that's what we knew that the inflammation was still, and also with her skin, a lot of times it'll come out with her skin.
Right.
I could tell when she eats a piece of bread because she gets a rash right here. So inflammation, and I kept researching inflammation, how do I help with this? And so the CBD oil came up. Also medical marijuana was something that I was researching before I found the CBD for pain and inflammation. I didn't want to go down the road of THC or introducing any kind of addictive substance into my daughter's life at that age.
Right.
Because she wasn't terminal. This is functional. This is something that we're going to be living with. If I had a terminal child, maybe that's an avenue I would have pursued more. But it wasn't anything that I was willing to pursue with her. Especially because we come from a very long line of alcoholics and drug addicts on both sides of the family.
Right.
So that's something that I'm concerned about with my children.
Right. Well, they pull, and some of the people, some of the brands, they pull the THC out.
Yes.
Of it.
Yeah.
Because it is actually the pure hemp that brings forth the healing.
Right.
And so you know that.
Well, so in my research, that was part of what happened. Was really it was the CBD, the cannabis oil, that was bringing down inflammation in patients.
Right.
So I started researching and trying to find brands of hemp oil that had the CBD without the THC.
Can I take a moment?
Sure.
Let me explain to you as cannabinoids. Our bodies, all of our bodies have cannabinoids. And cannabinoids is in our body, and cannabinoids are also in hemp. When you ingest a cannabinoid, it actually repairs or actually helps regenerate cells that have been damaged and or injured. So with me, with my cognitive function, having diagnosed with brain cancer and those things, my cognitive function was getting very off, and my short-term memory loss and everything. And what I began to do was take this. And I was afraid because, even though hemp is the cousin of the marijuana plant, I did not want to be associated with a stigma.
Right.
But when you're trying to save your life, you
Right.
have to do it. That's why you said if she had to, that's something you would have done. But just know this, guys. That CBD oil reduced that inflammation. And it does it in your arms, it does it in your joints and everything. And you're finding out when that inflammation was reduced, did it improve her quality of life?
Absolutely. So it does two things: that it decreased the inflammation and also decreased the pain. It decreased the emotional end of being chronically ill also. So it helps with the anxiety, the depression end of it also. I saw a total turnaround. But not only with her, this is the beautiful part about it, as I started taking it also, because as the caregiver,
You were stressed.
I was stressed.
I didn't think
So
about
I
that.
said, well, let me try this also. So I'm a person that I have high anxiety, and I've always medicated myself with pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Because that's what the doctor told me,
Right.
and it worked. So I said, let me try this.
Right.
I tried it.
There you go.
And it has been life-altering for me, to the point that I no longer drink wine every night, take Ativan,
Right.
or Prozac, or anything.
Right.
Completely all natural, just from this pure oil,
Listen.
which is miraculous to me.
No, here's what I want you to understand. One of my wife's friends, one of her best friends, basically gave it to her moms, and I'm telling you, her mother had such a response. It was absolutely phenomenal, where people are calling and saying, I can't believe this is happening. When I went back to my doctors, they said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Right.
Because it actually helps repair. My wife, she told me day before yesterday, because it's the blue bottle, but we get ours mixed up, and I end up taking her bottle if I don't see my bottle. Mm-hmm. And she told me yesterday, or a couple of days ago, she said, ever since I took that oil, she said she used to have a swollen knee and she would always have problems. She said the soreness went away, and she said it hasn't come back. And even if a couple of times she ran out, she said it didn't come back. And so it really deals with inflammation. Mm-hmm. And like we had Dr. Henry Lamont on earlier, and he's a specialist when it comes to inflammation. And he says the source of most all diseases is inflammation.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad that, I got an opportunity to cross paths with you. And I still, there's just one more thing I want to ask. What don't we know about the incentives that are happening with pediatricians, some, not all, going on in this healthcare system, like, with the statistics and that kind of stuff?
So, right now in Connecticut, and I can only speak for Connecticut because that's where I live and that's where I practice,
Mm-hmm.
but there's the insurance companies have brought forth something where the pediatricians have to have 2/3 of all of their patients fully vaccinated, or else they do not get paid for any of their patients, which means their doors will be shut down. So it's not the doctor's fault. It's the insurance companies that are dictating how we're caring for our children. And so these poor pediatricians want to keep their doors open so that they can, help children and take care of them. But the only way they can do that is by telling the parents that they need to vaccinate their children. And I only know this because, number one, being in nursing, but two, was because I started questioning, and I'm not pro-vaccinating or not pro.
Right.
My children are vaccinated to a point. But I started getting concerned with injecting them with something when Julia was sick, because I said, you have this child here that already has a compromised immune system. Is this the smartest thing for me to do, is to start pumping her with, something foreign? Let's let her body heal, and then we'll pick up giving vaccinations again. That's not allowed.
It isn't?
No.
Wow.
It's not allowed. I mean, I guess you could, if you have a doctor that will say that it's a medical reason. But one of the things is for school, for me to keep her in school without having her fully vaccinated, I needed to have a religious exemption. And that's trying, the government's trying to, there's so many different reasons why somebody may or may not vaccinate their child. I just believe that we as parents should have the choice. Again, I don't go one way or another. I just like to have the choice to do what's right for my child.
Right. And I think that with the current climate that we're in, they're just pulling. If the woman is the sole health provider,
right. I'm the caretaker of my entire family, and I just want to have free choice. That's all I want.
That's what this is about. And choice is to put you first. The new Ministry of Health is about putting you first, letting you know that you come first. And we believe that the healthcare system should say you come first. And I hope that you heard something in today's interview. I know I got enlightened in the interview just now, just understanding when you gave that information about they have to do certain things just to get paid.
Right.
I appreciate you sharing that. Hey, listen, you guys, this is a lot of information, but as she said, she was the advocate for her daughter, and she had to take care of her. And this is what you have to do. So you cannot accept these attacks on your rights and all these different things. Women, you all are the ones that are keeping us alive. So don't let them try to break you, because they tried to break you by ridiculing you.
Absolutely.
But now, let's tell what is she doing today?
Oh, today she is just finished her first year of college and graduated high school in the same year.
Wow. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Say it again.
So I ended up taking my daughter out of school. And she went on to college a year early. She's kickboxing twice a week. She's going to the movies with her friends. She's helping me do the laundry. So many things. This is a child that was in bed for 9 months.
Wow.
9 months in bed with her cat. So I believe in therapy animals also.
Okay.
But from bed to bathroom for 9 months, and now she is ahead of her classmates. Right. And I was ridiculed as a mother from friends, family, school, for taking her out. That I was going to ruin my child by taking her out of school and not forcing her. But really what her body needed was rest. And to bring that inflammation down. Right. And that really is what the turning point was.
That's it. Well, I'm glad you experienced it. I hope that you all were blessed with what you have heard. I'm glad that she's doing better. And all I know, I'm a living witness. And you met me almost a year ago, and there's a difference between
night and day.
You said night and day. There's a difference, and that's because of being educated in this new Ministry of Health, where you come first. Hey, look, God is true. Love you, and we beat you to it.